Okay, this is Jimmy John. You're listening to Motor City Rock Talk. Today, my guest is a member of a band that's been playing in the area for quite a while. I think he's been a member of several bands over the years. The band I'm referring to, my producer-director Robin Miller turned me on to. They're called Shagg Nasty. Today, my guest is the lead guitarist of that band, John Tully. Hey, John, how you doing tonight?
Good. How's it going, brother?
Pretty good, pretty good. All right, let's get a little background going here. Tell me where you're from originally and what drew you towards playing the guitar.
Oh, well, I was born in Detroit and raised in Detroit, over by Clark Park, southwest Detroit.
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of like the forgotten part of Detroit back then, but ever since ICP come out, now it's the spot,
Right.
But back then, you never heard about it on the news, you never read about it in the papers or nothing like that. But yeah, there was a lot of musicians in my neighborhood from an early age, I would see guys playing and stuff. Well, hey man, that must be pretty cool, Yeah, I started playing in school bands, like 3rd or 4th grade, playing the drums, and played that all through school. Switched over to guitar when I was 13.
Who were some of your earliest musical influences as far as like rock bands that were back in the day?
When I got into music very, very young, like second grade, I was into collecting albums, and it was all country music, because that's what I grew up around.
Sure.
My parents, that's what they listened to, and so I had a record collection when I was probably 7 or 8 years old, all kinds of Johnny Cash,
Cool.
Hank Williams, and Loretta Lynn, Dolly Parton, just straight up country. And then at some point it was like, well, you're young, you need to listen to more modern, type of music. So then I got into like Chuck Berry, like I didn't know anything about rock and roll. I was the oldest kid in my family.
Right.
Usually if you got older brothers or something, they'll turn you on to something.
Sure.
I didn't have nobody to do that for me, So I got Chuck Berry and started listening to Creedence Clearwater Revival. And the Beatles were always there, but Kiss was the thing. Once Kiss come along, it was like, well, okay, here's your thing,
Yeah.
Every school had the Kiss guy, and that was me in my school. Yeah, in 7th grade, I wore a Kiss shirt to school every day, literally. Every single day, I wore a Kiss shirt to school.
Wow. Yeah, I hear a lot of that from people I interview, especially from our age group, like Kiss and Aerosmith, Led Zeppelin, obviously, those groups were the biggest influences and all that.
If you were 12 or 13 years old back then, or 11, 10, 11, you just got all into it. It was your thing,
Do you remember who the first band that you saw in concert would have been back in the day? Do you remember?
Yeah, I do. My dad bought me tickets for Aerosmith for my birthday in 1977, and the concert was in October, and I was literally the last row, tier C, all the way in the back against the wall, because he bought them at the last minute. But it was like the greatest thing in the world, There they were, Aerosmith. It's funny to me now because, I just turned 13, and, now that you know all the stuff you know about Aerosmith in 1977, it's like, well, a little 13-year-old kid in tier C had no idea what heroin and cocaine and groupies and all that other shit was, you know what I mean? And
yeah.
that was the height of the Toxic Twins era for them. And for years and years and years, I had forgot who the opening act was. It turns out it was AC/DC.
Really?
In 1977, AC/DC was like, well, who the hell are these guys,
Right.
Like another 2, 3, 4 years before they blew up, But yeah, it was AC/DC and Aerosmith, 1977, man.
Is that at Cobo?
Cobo Hall, yep. That was Actually, I had been to Cobo Hall before because when I was real young, my dad took me to see Merle Haggard at Cobo Hall.
I love Merle Haggard.
Yeah, this was like probably 1972 or 73, so my whole life's pretty much been wrapped up in music, man.
Yeah, that's funny you should say 77 at Cobo, because my first concert was 78 at Cobo with Alice Cooper. And of all the funniest opening acts for that, the Babies of all bands opened up for them. For him,
Who was
it was the Babies.
The Babies?
John Waite and the Babies. And it went over pretty well. I was surprised. I was really into Alice Cooper. Really loved Alice Cooper, Aerosmith, all that stuff.
The 70s was a whole different trip because, I remember seeing Iron Maiden at 38 Special and Rainbow. It's
sure.
like, what kind of bill was that? You know what I mean?
God, yes. Well, tell me about when you pretty much got maybe your first band or first group of guys that you might have got together to jam with.
Well, I started jamming with my friends like everybody does, you know, in my buddy's basement. And that was in 1978, so right at the very end of the 70s is when I started playing. But right around 1980, I got a band with some guys that were, you know, more experienced than me. And, you know, my thing was always that I want to play with people better than me. I don't want to be dragging somebody along. I want me running to keep up with them because, you know, that's what's going to make me improve as a musician. And, you know, I had a buddy from school named Jimmy Ramone, and he was 2 years younger than me, but he'd been playing since he was like 7, gigging. Yeah, his brothers were a little older than him, and they used to play the after parties for like Mitch Ryder and Iggy Pop and all that, you know what I mean? And they would sneak him out of the house. He was like 7 or 8 years old.
Wow.
And he was phenomenal. I mean,
What did he play?
he was the best musician in the band by far. He was 13. I was 15, and the other guys were like 17 or 18. But we managed to get a couple gigs, you know what I mean? And from there, I just kept, you know, getting together with people and finding some place to play, you know.
Do you remember the name of that band, or did you guys have a name or just jam?
Yeah, Guess.
Guess?
Yeah, pretty clever, huh?
Yeah. That's
What's
funny.
the name of your new band? Guess. The joke only works one time, you know.
That's like naming a dog Wait.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, you know, when you're 14, that's pretty clever. But
Yeah, that's very clever.
But we actually had little posters, and we opened up for my friend's brother's band. And the first show we played, it was at we had a place here in Southwest Detroit called West Side Arena. It was a roller rink, and they had concerts there. And we opened up for them. It was packed. All the kids from my school was there, and all kinds of people I didn't know. I mean, it was probably at least 200 or 300 people there. You know,
that was
for my
Guest?
first show.
That was the band Guest?
Yeah, that was our very first show. That was in April of 1980. So
Wow.
coming up on like what, 44 years ago.
Time flies quite
Oh,
quickly.
man.
And
But, yeah,
did you
it
guys
went
have any original material, or were y'all just doing very much?
No,
covers?
no, not at all at that point, man. Yeah, and I just kept doing that in the 80s, and then the mid-80s I kind of slowed down, and then the late 80s is when I got original band and started playing. You know, we played around and recorded in the studio and sent it into the local shows on RIP and shit like that.
Right.
You know, we played a few gigs. We played the Harpos, and we played at the RIP, played at the Harbor Theater down here, Ecorse, that's long gone. But we did all right, and then it just kind of, the end of the 80s, I was like, fuck this shit. I'm tired of pouring my heart and soul into something and having some asshole fuck it up.
Right.
You know, that was the exact mindset.
Yeah.
I'm going to work on this and, you know, believe in it, put everything I got into it, and some idiot's going to go, oh, well, no, let's do something different.
Yeah.
And I just got tired of that. You know, there's always one guy in the band that wants to butt at it. You say yes, they say no. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I got so tired of that. Literally, that band got to the point where I would tell the guy the opposite of what I wanted to do. Knowing damn well he was going to argue with me.
Right.
So I would let him win.
Yeah.
Okay, you win. And it's like, why the fuck do I want to deal with this fucking petty-ass, stupid fucking shit?
Yeah, that's good.
And I quit playing guitar literally for like 2 years.
Wow.
Didn't even touch a guitar, didn't tell nobody I played nothing. Just stopped. And then in around 92, the beginning of 1992, I moved out to Hillsdale and got a job at the Eckridge playing outfit. And then, you know, I worked there for a few months still. I took my guitar with me, obviously, and I was messing around a little bit. I said, well, so I started learning songs I always wanted to learn. I learned Sweet Child of Mine. I learned All Along the Watchtower. I learned the solo for Whole Lot of Love, all that shit.
Right.
Just, you know, messing around. And then I met this guy that worked with me, had been in a band, and I was like, well, you know, hey man, I play guitar, maybe we can get together and jam sometime, you know. And around Memorial Day, they had a party where everybody was jamming, and I was like, okay, well, I'll sit in and jam. And I mean, really freaked all these fucking people out, dude. I remember right before I went on, I told the singer guy, I said, I might get up there and play Eruption for these guys, you know, because at that point, this is 1992.
Right.
Everybody fucking knew Eruption if he was any good, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
And he literally, his jaw fucking dropped. He goes, you can play Eruption? I was like, yeah. You know, who the fuck can't play Eruption, right? So I got up there and played it and just fucked all these people up, man. It was like they saw God or some shit. And I, you know, I mean, when you come from Southwest Detroit or Detroit in general, the level of talent is pretty high. You know what I mean? So you see a guy that plays good, well, that's no big deal, you know. But out there, you know, there's only 10,000 people in the whole county, you know, so there might be 10 guitar players that are any good. If that, 5, you know. So they just fucked him up. And then the singer goes, well, I'll take you to see the best band in the county, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, all right. And I go there, and these guys, man, couldn't even fucking get a gig in Detroit.
Really?
That's how bad they were.
No shit.
And I was looked at him amazed. I was like, this is the best band in the whole fucking county? He's like, yeah. I was like, bro, we're going to fucking own this fucking county, period. You don't even know right now. We're going to fucking freak these people out, you know? So we did our first show the 4th of July. And, you know, out there's nothing to do. If there's a big party, that's what everybody goes to, you know?
Sure, of course.
And it's the country, so you'd play in these cornfields where it was just open space. And I mean, the first show, man, hundreds of people. We went up there, did our little Shagg Nasty thing, and you know, and then like we'd play every other week for the whole summer. It really only lasted one summer, but it was like a phenomenon out there. You know, you know, it was no big deal. It was like, okay, man, let's do this. You know, right up to the point we didn't have a name.
No.
The Shagg Nasty name, the way it comes to be used, is always inadvertent. You know what I mean? It's always like, well, okay, then I guess we'll be Shagg Nasty, because we didn't have a name. We assumed the singer wanted to call it Kid Ego or something after some extreme song.
Okay.
And I didn't think nothing about it. What the fuck ever? You know, a name's a name.
Yeah.
And we get literally right before we go ready to go on at this 4th of July show. And fucking, they're like, well, what's our name? I said, well, Kitty, go right there. The drummer and bass player, fuck that, I don't like that. Well, go back to the list, you know. We went down the list, and Shagg Nasty was one of the names on the list. And that was the one everybody's like, well, fuck it, I guess that's the least shitty name, you know. So right before we went on, we called it Shagg Nasty, you know.
Was there any significance to that name? Who came up with that? And
you know, when you're looking for a name, you know, you make a list and you brainstorm and
Right.
shit. Some guy's girlfriend had said when she was a little kid, her grandfather used to call her Shagg Nasty.
oh,
So we wrote that down and didn't think nothing else about it. Like I said, right before we went on, well, okay, I guess we're Shagg Nasty, all right. And when we started doing it in Detroit here, it was the same way. We put together a cover band. I was in a band with called Lords of Del Rey. We went through a few drummers, and one of the drummers, a good buddy of mine, just recently passed away, Ross Saldivar. He goes, you were an original band, Lords of Del Rey, and he goes, what do you want to put a cover band together on the side to make some money? And I'm all about making some money. I was like, hell yeah, let's do it. I hadn't been in a cover band in fucking 10 years, you know, before that. But I was like, well, fuck it. If I can go make some money to play these same songs I've been playing my whole life, might as well, you know. And the same thing, you know, what are we going to call a band? We made up a list of names, put out Shagg Nasty, and they're like, nah, fuck that. And it got to be our first show, and the same thing again. We didn't have a name yet. So they're like, fucking, well, I guess Shagg Nasty's it, you know. Pretty much ever since then, we've kept it going. That was in like 2003. You know, we pretty much kept it going since then, man. We've taken a break a few times.
right.
A lot of ups and downs.
Yeah, of course. It's rougher when you get old. Was the name Guess on that list by any chance? Because I think that's a great name. I think that'd be a killer name for a band now.
Yeah, somebody will probably use it now that I brought it up.
Yeah.
But I mean, at the time, like I said, we thought it was clever, you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
it was clever, especially for as young as you were. Now,
Yeah, 1980, you know.
so who are the members of Shagg Nasty? I imagine over time people have come and gone, but
Right now,
Yeah.
our singer is Vern Matthews, and our bass player is Eric Savoda, and our drummer is Joe Ponce. Me and Joe played together back around 80, 81, during the Van Halen days. When we were into Van Halen, me and Joe could just go through the Van Halen catalog on guitar and drums. No bass, no vocals, nothing, just right through it, you know. Eric played with us. I got out of the Army in 85. We started jamming, me and Joe Garza and Eric and Joe. 'Cause Eric's a little younger than me and Joe, you know. So back when we jammed together in the early 80s, he was only like 10 or 11. But in the mid-80s, we played with him. And Vern was singing. He works with a buddy of mine called named Ricky Charvel. They worked together, and he was playing in a band with Chronic Therapy. Me and Joe said, well, you know what? We're not going to do the cover band thing no more, so let's just write some originals, record them, and then go out and promote our own music. And I said, well, ask Vern if he wants to, you know, sing on some of them for it. And they weren't, the other band wasn't doing anything, so he's like, well, fuck it, I'll just join the band. And I'm like, oh, great.
Yeah.
An original band's a whole different trip than a cover band.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what I mean? And when we first started doing it, 2003, I told everybody involved, fucking, we're going to stay a cover band. We're not going to do no originals. We're just going to go out, play covers, and make money. And we did that for a long time. The only reason we started doing originals was we was playing some riff shows at the Bullfrog around 2007, 2008. Meltdown from Riff would be there, and he fucking loved us. We were like his favorite band in town.
Wow, cool.
He would get on the radio and talk about us and all kinds of other shit, you know. And he said, man, you guys should do some original. And then I told the band, I said, you know, when the biggest DJ on the biggest station in the country tells you to do some original, you should probably consider it.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And it changed the whole fucking dynamic of the band, man.
Yeah.
You know, we were probably doomed from that day. Because, like I said, when you're doing a cover band, everybody has their egos. But when you're doing a cover band, your ego works in one way. When you're doing an original band, it works in a whole other way. Mm-hmm. Like I said about the guy that always wants to say no when you say yes. You know, you'll be writing a song and, oh, well, I don't like this part, try this. And they're just doing it to get their input in. Cool. They're not trying to make it better. They don't know anything about songwriting. You know, it's all of a sudden you're fucking Brian Wilson. Yeah. You never wrote a fucking song in your life, and now you're telling me how to write a fucking song.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You get a lot of that.
Yeah.
And it's like, man, I really get tired of the headaches of being in a band very quickly, man.
Yeah, of course.
I have a low tolerance for it because I've been doing it so long. I mean, I'm literally dealing with bullshit even right now that I was dealing with when I was 15. The same fucking shit. It's like, man, don't this ever fucking change?
Yeah. Musicians have egos. It always seems to come out and come down that way. And I just want to mention before I forget, I want to thank you for your service, sir.
Oh yeah, no problem, man. You was around in the early 80s. You know how the economy was and shit. Mm-hmm. You couldn't get a job. I mean, I had 5 brothers. There were 6 of us. And I was the oldest. So as soon as I turned 18, my dad said, look, man, get a fucking job or go in the fucking army. I got 5 kids and you're 18. Yeah. I'm like, well, you got 6 kids. No, you're 18 now. You're not a kid anymore. Right. It's like, oh, okay. So I was like, well, time to go fucking serve my country.
Yeah. What branch of the service were you in?
I was in the Army.
Okay.
I was in the Army. I was military police, believe it or not.
Yeah. How long were you in for?
My father passed away about a year and a half after I went in, and I got a hardship discharge.
Oh.
And then I ended up going back in the reserves and doing another 6 months after that.
Were you stationed anywhere outside the United States, or just pretty much?
No. I was in El Paso, Texas, or actually in the desert in New Mexico, man. There's a place called McGregor Range out there. Mm-hmm. It's a live fire missile range, and they don't have no people stationed there. People just go there to train, but they have to have a small group of people, cooks, MPs. That's how the Army dealt with me, man. It's sent me out on 1 million square acres of desert and a live fire missile range. And honestly, I didn't mind it because the way I looked at it is the Army basically said, look, you leave us alone and we'll leave you alone. And I was cool with that, you know what I mean?
Did you have your guitar when you were out there? Were you jamming a little bit to yourself?
Oh, yeah. There? Yeah, I remember when I was in boot camp, you couldn't have a guitar, obviously. But when you went to your training, your school training, you could have a guitar. Mm-hmm. So my dad sent me my fucking Kramer and a little PV amp to my MP school. And we were supposed to be cleaning the barracks, and I was in the fucking day room jamming out. And the drill sergeant walked in. I was like, oh, man, I'm fucked, you know. And I stopped playing. I stood up and shit. He goes, no, carry on. So I just grabbed the guitar and started tearing it up for him, you know. He's like, well, why did you join the Army? I said, can't make a living doing this shit.
Unless you're really lucky or you know the right people.
Unless you're really lucky. And I mean, if you think about it, even that was the era of fucking Seduce and Halloween and all them other guys. Look what, you know, I mean, they were making a living at it, but they never really, you know, it's hard to make a living as a musician, man.
Unless you're a session player or whatever. But from what I understand from Rob, because he's been raving about you forever, you are quite the guitar player, and not just quite the guitar player. He told me a story about one time they were on a bus or something with him or whatever, and you were trying to explain some theory to him, and it was just blowing his mind. He just had to go, stop. Because you were just blowing his mind, because he just learned to play guitar like a lot of guys. He just picked it up and started playing the records and whatnot, but that you really knew theory. So did you study the guitar at all or take lessons at an early age, or how did you learn all that?
No, I never took any lessons, man, but the thing about it is with being from the school band, you know, paradigm, is I was constantly like trying to absorb knowledge and learn as much as I possibly could. I took it that serious, you know what I mean?
Yes.
So when I was in drum class in 3rd grade and we're counting 1, 2, 3, 4, I was fucking dead serious. That's where I got my timing from, was all them years playing drums in school. cool. And
Do
then
you play anything else besides drums and guitar? I mean, any other
no,
instruments?
just I played drums all through school, and then once I switched to guitar, it was kind of like, well, this is it, you know. Keyboard a little bit, but mostly because, you know, you have to familiarize yourself with the keyboard to learn theory.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I kind of got it from there, but I would get like material. I remember stealing these 2 books out of the back room of the band class.
Yeah.
It was music theory and harmony 101, you know, part 1 and part 2, and I just went all the way through both of those on my own. And once you learn a few basic rudiments in music theory, everything comes together.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like, oh wow, this is just basically, you know, it's like washing the window. That's what I always say, because as soon as you clean the window, you can see everything through it.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. But I mean, it must have been a bit challenging, especially at that age, to go from a percussion instrument to guitar. I mean, you're talking completely different aspects of music. I mean, do you find that pretty challenging at that time?
The hardest part for me was in drums. You never focused on any notes. Everything was about the rhythm.
Exactly.
So reading drum music was just seeing one note and hit, you know what I mean? Then you get into other instruments and you actually have to play note and start. So that was kind of complicated at first.
Yeah.
But if you think about it, the guitar is basically a percussion instrument. Sound is formed from your pick hitting the string.
Well, yeah, that's true. I hadn't thought of that.
That's kind of the way I play it, you know what I mean? Because your right hand is keeping rhythm basically all the time.
Yeah.
Your left hand is playing the notes and all that other stuff, but your right hand is all about the rhythm.
Yeah, that's true. That's definitely an insightful way to look at it. I had never thought of it that way. I played trumpet all through band in school, and play all the brass instruments. And I learned bass guitar and some guitar, and I had classical.
So you learned how to read then, right?
Oh yeah, I took classical lessons on piano.
Yeah, that was the hardest part for me, and it's still I have to like hunt and peck, you know what I mean? I can't sight read at all, man.
But you can read music?
Oh yeah, I just remember every good boy does fine and FAC. So I'll just sit there and count the lines till I get to the letter and say, okay, that's that note.
Did you at all? Did you ever get into, or are you into tablature? I know that's been major craze within the last, I don't know, 10, 20 years.
I messed with it a little bit when it first started coming around. But to me, that's not learning music at all. That's learning where to put your fingers.
That's it. That's right.
And that's the worst thing you can do as a musician, because if you just learn to where to put your fingers, you don't understand what's going on in the music.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You don't really know the song. You just know where to put your fingers.
Right.
You know, and it makes it easier a lot of times, but it's to your detriment in the long run. You know what I mean?
Do you think that's helpful for a musician or guitarist in the beginning, just to learn some of those positions, or do you think it's just detrimental?
Well, I think it's kind of the opposite. It's a lot easier when you've been playing a long time.
Oh, okay.
Because you really know how to play.
Right.
So if you look and see on that tablet, you go, okay, that's what they're doing. But if you're just, when you're first starting, it might make it easier for you knowing where to put your fingers. Then once you learn that whole song, and I mean, you can learn it perfectly, every note of the whole song. But if you only know where you're putting your fingers and you don't know, well, that's an F sharp going to a C sharp, so that's a fifth, and then the C sharp's going to a E sharp, that's a third. You know what I mean?
Right, yeah.
You don't understand any of that. You just know, oh, this is fourth fret, this is third fret. It's kind of like you could teach a monkey where to put its fingers. You know what I'm saying? That's the way I always looked at it.
That's true.
You know,
that's
but
funny.
you don't understand the music going on behind it, you know? And to me, that's what was always important, because like I said, I took it dead serious.
Right.
I wanted to know every fucking thing I could possibly know. I mean, when I was first starting out, I was like, I'd like to be a studio guitar player. Because I read Guitar Player magazine and all that. That's in the Guitar Institute of Technology days. It's like, whoa, you really got to know your shit to go there, so I better work hard and learn everything I can. It's what changed the game for me in guitar playing. Because as soon as that come out, I thought, that's not music. That's exactly what I thought, man.
And learning tablature, like you said, the other, I think, setback to that is, I really feel learning guitar, if you really want to be a good guitarist, whether you're going to write material or you're going to do cover songs or whatever, you have to have a feel for the emotion of the instrument, loudness, softness, different aspects of it. And if you're, like you said, you're just learning where to put your fingers and you're concentrating strictly on that, you're not getting into the instrument fully.
You're not feeling it, man. And honestly, everything you learn on an instrument, I mean, you can learn all the theory and all the technique and everything else, but when it comes time to play, all that shit has to go out the fucking window, and it's just you and the guitar and the listener.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's not like, people got to feel what you're doing, man.
Yes.
And in order to do that, you know, it has to feel natural. And if you're up there thinking, "No, I'll put in this arpeggio in F sharp minor 7," that's not feeling it, you know.
Right.
You have to trust your instincts, you know. Once you've learned enough stuff and you played long enough, you have to trust your instincts enough to just let it go and let it fly, you know.
Now, in Shagg Nasty, are you the main writer as far as the original material?
Before we got Vern, yeah, I pretty much wrote everything. But now that Vern's in the band, I write the music and he writes the lyrics. There's a couple of them that I wrote the lyrics for, but the majority of them, I just give him a song and he puts words to it, you know. It's nice because, I mean, the last singer we had, he didn't want anything to do with writing lyrics at all.
Mm-hmm.
He's a great singer, man, but he wasn't creative, and you know what I mean?
Right.
He's actually the singer in the Wrecking Crew now. He does Vince Neil.
Oh, I saw them open up for
He fucking nails it, dude.
Halloween. Oh yeah, they're
He
really
nails
good.
Vince Neil, man.
Yeah.
If Motley Crue ever gets a hold of him, Vince Neil's fucked. For real.
Well,
because he
Vince
does
Neil
way
pretty
better
much
than
is
Vince Neil
anyway.
does now.
Yeah, Vince Neil is pretty much done as far as that. I think that band who claimed they were gonna, you know, break up and be done, and then of course continued on like so many others, like Kiss and all that. It's quite a joke.
But when we had that last guy, though, man, that guy could fucking nail Axl Rose. I mean, sound exactly like them, sound just like Motley Crue, AC/DC, Led Zeppelin, all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when we were a cover band. So we just did that kind of music, and it just happened that that's the kind of music I play naturally, is that kind of hard rock.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I can pretty much play any kind of music I want to play. And honestly, I don't really listen to that much hard rock. When it comes to playing it, that just flows out of me like I'm talking to you right now.
Right.
You know, it's just completely natural. So we had a guy that sang like Axl Rose. We did a bunch of that material. It really caught on, man. Around 2008, 2009, we were playing every fucking weekend to a packed bar somewhere. You know, we were doing like 80 or 90 shows a year. And like I said, once we started doing originals, it kind of changed the dynamic.
Where are some of the places that you guys would call your stomping grounds?
There's a bar right here around the corner from me in Lincoln Park called Mirage.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not there anymore. It's a dentist's office now. But our drummer at the time lived right behind it. It was his place to go after work and have a beer, you know.
Yeah.
So we're like, well, tell the guy, asked him if he wants to have a live band. And the guy said, sure. And we started playing there and brought a lot of people. And then maybe the third or fourth time we played there, it was just packed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the word got around
Yeah.
downriver. These motherfuckers are packing this bar and rocking it out, you know. So the next thing you know, man, we were just playing every bar that had bands downriver. The one that was really our spot was the Permanent Picture, man. Kind of our home base, man. We played a lot of other bars, but that was the home base, you know.
Where was that at?
That was in Taylor on Beach Daily and Northline.
Speaking of Taylor, do you guys ever play at Road Rangers?
Yeah, we played it there. We played there a few years back. They weren't around back then.
Right, yeah. But I know they're fairly popular recently.
Yeah, they're pretty much the only bar in town now.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. So I thought, you guys would probably be in there. Are you still recording, or have you got any new recordings in the works?
We have a couple of new originals we're going to get in the studio and record probably here in a month or two. We've been saying that for like 3 years. You know, the pandemic happened, and then we had some health issues in the band and stuff, you know, work issues in the band. So we had a lot of time off, you know. Our last show before the pandemic was February 29th, 2020. So that's coming up on 4 years ago. And in them 4 years, man, we've maybe played just a handful of shows, I would say. We just played the Winter Blast. We played Lagerhaus the week before that. And then we did Rubel Fest last summer. And then before that, it was like 2021, I think we played a show. So we've probably only done like maybe 5 or 6 shows in the last 4 years.
Wow. Are you planning on doing more this year, hopefully?
Yeah, that's what we're planning on. But, you know, right now we're kind of regrouping, you know. We're going to get some rehearsals and get the music really tight. Get in the studio and get these songs out. Try to get some new merchandise, because, I mean, that's basically how it is now. Merchandise is the only way you can really make anything, you know.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
we didn't have any
with
merchandise for Winter Blast. We didn't have any for Lagerhaus, you know. So we want to have everything in order and then just come out and start playing again, you know.
Where do you guys, what recording studio are you going to be going into? Where do you record?
Probably going to record with Paulie from The Strange this time. I think his studio is called Burning Ear Studios. The last one we did at Rust Belt in Royal Oak, and that was really, really nice, man. That's where Greta Van Fleet recorded the album of the year, you know.
Yeah, no doubt.
So it was like, well, we can afford it. Let's try to get the best we can get, you know.
Oh, absolutely.
They came out pretty good. I mean, we didn't really have no producer or anything, you know what I mean? So it's
Yeah.
kind of more like demo quality, but still, we were happy with it, you know what I mean?
Well, that's the most important thing. You got to be happy with it. Where can people listen to your music now? Is it on Spotify? Is it on Bandcamp?
Oh yeah, we're on Spotify and Apple and YouTube. The whole EP is on YouTube. That's usually what I end up sharing. You know what I mean? It's
Okay.
5 songs. See, we had another EP we put out back in 2008. That's the one I told you about.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when we switched from a cover band to original band. You know,
So how many EPs do you have out? Or how many?
it would just be them 2.
Oh, those two. Okay.
Yeah, the first one was called Jailbait,
Mm-hmm.
and we broke even. That's my goal when I do anything is to break even. I just don't want it to cost me money because it's
Yeah.
a hobby, you know.
Sure, sure. So will you be playing some gigs, do you think, to make the money to go into the studio, or are you guys setting it aside personally?
We're gonna probably book some gigs in the spring, and but I think first we're gonna get this merch together and do some rehearsing, get everything tightened up. Hopefully get in the studio before we play again. We might go out and play before we get in the studio, but I want to definitely tighten the band up, get some merch that we can sell at the gigs and stuff, and then go out and start playing. I mean, there's an original band too. You can't really play every Friday and Saturday.
Right, of course not.
You know, once, twice a month is about the most, you know.
Yeah.
Anything other than that, nobody's
Yeah.
gonna come see you, you
Yeah,
know.
that's true. One of the songs I saw on YouTube, the video you guys playing, was Highway Star. Mentioned earlier that you'd seen Rainbow back in the day. Are you a Richie Blackmore fan?
Richie was a very, very big influence. Yeah, my main 3 guys was probably Eddie Van Halen and Randy Rhoads and Richie Blackmore. And then you could probably throw Ted Nugent and Angus Young in there too.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that would probably be the top 5 that I really learned from. But Highway Star, I started doing that when I was 15 or 16 years old. And, you know, just having one guitar, do the keyboard solo, then do the guitar solo, you know. And eventually it was kind of like, became like a showpiece, you know.
Yeah.
And then eventually it kind of became corny. So we kind of quit doing it, you know what I mean?
No, corny would have been if you were doing Smoke on the Wall. Highway Star, I don't think is corny.
Well, it's just, you know, if you're up there doing the same exact shit you did when you were 16 and you're fucking 56 now, you know.
Yeah, but not everybody knows that.
That's the thing you
tell
gotta
them
keep in
that.
mind.
Yeah. What other covers or what other bands do you guys concentrate? Is it all more or less that kind of hard rock?
Yeah, pretty much. We do mostly originals, so we throw
Right.
in maybe 2 covers in every set, you know.
Right.
And we do kind of like a amped up version of Sweet Home Alabama, you know, real high tempo, kind of Ramones-ish.
Yeah, that's cool.
And then we recently added in Jumpin' Jack Flash.
Yeah,
and,
we played both those songs, and it's funny. Sweet Home Alabama, and I was talking to a guy the other night and stuff. And back in the day, and you probably remember this, whenever you went out and played live, somebody was always yelling in the audience to play Skinner, and it was normally Freebird. I want to hear Freebird. It was like, you know, the long guitar solo, the whole thing. It's a great song, but the thing about Sweet Home Alabama that I picked up a long time ago, because the last band I was in, we did it, but we only did it because of what we could lend to it. If you look at the chord changes in that, it's the exact same chord changes as Werewolves of London, Warren Zevon.
Oh yeah, there's
It's
a
the
ton
same.
of songs.
You could throw that in the middle of it. Also, of course, Kid Rock's song "All Summer Long" is basically the same thing too. So we used to do kind of a medley of that kind of stuff, you know.
Yeah, people like it, man.
Yeah.
When we do it, I don't know if you heard us do it or not, but I do the intro totally straight. Do, 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 you know?
Yeah.
And then we stop, but when we count it in real fast. 1, 2, 3, 4. Da, 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 da.
Well, there you go. You've got your own take on it, and that's important.
It kind of, it takes people by surprise.
Yeah.
If they haven't heard it before, because they hear the intro and they automatically think, okay,
Yeah.
Sweet Home. And the next thing you know, it's fucking the Ramones.
What do you think of the music scene recently or within the last 10 years? Have there been any bands that in any way excite you, as whether rock, pop rock, or whatever?
I get excited seeing these young kids doing their own thing,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and it's more, honestly, it's more just actually seeing them do it, because I don't get the music, you know what I mean? I'm
Right.
old, and they're young, you know, it's a new kind of music. So, I mean, the way I look at it is I'm not supposed to get, if I got it, it wouldn't be young people music, it would be old people music.
Yeah, but some of these young kids, like you said, when you were growing up, you didn't have an older brother that turned you on to stuff. But some of these kids have older brothers, they've got uncles, they've got YouTube to turn them on to this. And one of the bands, of course, I went and saw that I interviewed, of course, was the Remnants and stuff. And I was disappointed that you guys didn't make it out that night. I really wanted to talk to you. I assume that you've seen them play.
I've seen some of their videos and stuff because I was in a band with Adam's dad, John, and I remember seeing Adam when he was really young, and I mean he was like a prodigy for real. He would sit at the piano and just play things, like complex things, and he was young, and the thing about it was like it wasn't like he was sitting there looking at the keyboard and concentrating. You know what I mean? He was just kind of staring off into space and playing these amazing things on the piano, and I thought, wow, this kid's musical.
Because when I saw them, because I talked to them, of course, I obviously interviewed Adam. Their set was very electrifying. It was like nothing I'd ever seen from a band recently, of that age especially, doing this kind of stuff. It was overly progressive in the sense of what they were trying to do. It was explosive. It was very dynamic. 1 minute it sounds like he's playing something from Fragile, from Yes. Next thing he's into doing some Zappa type stuff, which excites me when I see young kids that are into that. That's what excites me. Because
he's on another level, man.
Yeah, there are some other cool bands, like you had mentioned, Gretchen Van Fleet. I like them. I don't care if people rip on them because they think of the Zeppelin reference. Who cares? They're doing it their way, and they're talented as hell. The other local band that I think is pretty cool is Animal, who I also saw open up for Halloween at their 40th anniversary. I'm not sure if you're familiar with them. Yeah, if you mention like Aerosmith, they're kind of like an Aerosmith, more along the lines of a Joe Perry project type thing, but very, very good at what they do, and they got that look that's that never seems to go away. Well, anyway, man, I'm going to let you go. I really appreciate you spending the time with me tonight and talking and all that. And I hope you guys get something together this spring so I can come out and see you. Rob has been telling me about your shows and how fun they are and exciting and stuff. And I have really dug the original material that I have heard from you.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Yeah, and I will be, spread the word a little bit more about it. Good luck in the future on some future recordings and all that and gigs. And like I said, look forward to seeing you.
All right, well, I really appreciate it, Jimmy. Thanks a lot, man.
You bet, man. You take care and have a good night.
Have a good evening, brother.
All right, brother. See ya.
Bye.
Okay, that was John Tully, guitarist extraordinaire from Detroit's band Shagg Nasty. Check them out when they get back to playing, hopefully in the spring. And like I said, you can check out some of their music on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or whatnot. Really good stuff. He's an awesome guitar player, incredible player, knows what he's doing, knows his chops, and takes it seriously, and is quite accomplished. Anyway, this is Jimmy Jive. You've been listening to Motor City Rock Talk, and as I always like to say, keep rocking.